All right, so I feel like most golfers, you get sick and tired of not being able to clear those hips and rotate them open. When you make a swing and look at it on video, you notice that you stand up out of your posture and you start to throw the club. And if you look at your hips, they're kind of square to the golf ball when you make contact. That can be really frustrating. Well, that's mostly because people have the wrong idea of the golf swing. They think of hitting at the target, and we go more side to side like this. You may notice that your right heel starts to lift up a little bit and your right hip kind of pops out to the right. That gets your body leaning this way, and then you kind of fall back that way sometimes, or stand up and fall. Your hips don't open like I mentioned. You lose your posture. All of that, the root cause of that is more of a forwards and backwards idea of what the swing is, going toward the target or trying to hit toward the golf ball. Well, let me go over here in a second, but the golf swing is more like pistons, this way and this way. And if you do this correctly, you notice how you're going to be able to easily, even if you're stiff as a board, I am so tight. If I keep my hips still, I can't hardly rotate my shoulders at all. But if I move correctly, I'm able to easily get a 90-degree shoulder turn. I'm able to stay in my posture, and I'm able to get a really smooth swing that has good rotation, and I can get some pretty good distance on it. It's not because I'm some super athlete or anything like that. It's just I've learned this technique, and in this video, I'm taking all kinds of years of studying. I'm going to boil it down. I'm going to give it all to you. I want you to really get this licked so you don't have to worry about it anymore. So when you do this correctly, you should be able to make a nice smooth swing with good rotation and hit the ball really far without feeling like you have to be jerky. And I'll get to all this later on in this video. So here I have a 9-iron. I want to make what feels like a nice smooth swing with good rotation. There we go, hit that very solid. And that seems like a crazy distance, 176 yards with a 9-iron. But I guarantee you can get it a lot farther than you think you can if you get this piece down, if you get the rotation aspect of it down. So let's start from the ground up, and I think this is the way to learn it. Most people pick and choose pieces. Grab a club right now, do these drills with me, and you're gonna feel it. We'll start with your feet, move to your knees, your hips, your shoulders, and then eventually your hands and arms. You put the whole thing together. So let's start with the feet here. Now again, the swing should be more of piston motion. So let me just drop the club for a second and do these with me. I want to think about in my backswing, if I put my arms to my side like these are pistons here, my right side of my body goes back in the backswing. So if we're looking at it from here, right arm goes back, my right knee goes back, my right hip goes back, my right shoulder goes back, the entire right side of my body goes back, left side of my body goes forward. Knee, hip, shoulder, everything goes forward. So it's that piston type move. Now, when I'm doing this, if I think about that in my feet, if I do this piston type rotation, my weight's going to go into my left heel. So I'm going to feel my toe. I'm going to exaggerate here. I have this wooden dowel splitting my feet. I'm going to feel my weight go into the heel, and my toe for this drill is actually going to come up off the turf a little bit. If I was to turn around this way so you could see my lead foot, imagine I'm hitting toward the camera now, and I did that same thing, that piston move, this heel is going to come up. So what's going on there? If you imagine this is both of my feet, in your backswing, you go right heel, left toe. So weight goes onto your left toe, weight goes onto your right heel, and it looks like this. Now, if you want to get exaggerated with that, here's a great way to feel it, is put a tennis ball, and this is way extreme, but you'll start to feel this piston type motion when you're doing this. Put a tennis ball under your left heel, and put a tennis ball under your right toe. And this would be the backswing type motion. So again, if I'm just not even worrying about the club, I'm just doing that piston motion, I should have the weight off my right toe, I should have the weight off my left heel. And that's that type of a movement. Now when that happens, that's going to work its way up the chain, which we'll get to in here in a second, but that's the feeling you should have. Now in the downswing, all we do is we turn the pistons the other way. So if I take these balls and switch them, left toe, right heel, now as I'm making my downswing, the piston goes the other way. Right side goes forward, left side pulls back, and now you see my right heel is coming up off the ground. My left toe, you'll see this with pros, their left toe starts to come off the ground and often kind of slides open like that. But again, you don't have to get that technical with it. Just think piston back in the backswing, downswing, we're changing the way the pistons are. Left side goes back, right side goes forward. That's going to allow you to get the weight shift in your feet correctly. So make about 10 or 15 swings out of club, without a ball, just in your living room, roll up a towel, put it between your feet, and just go piston this way, piston that way, and start to feel your toes and heels doing this, right? I want to feel like they change as I'm going back and forth. The weight shift is not big in the golf swing. It's here. We're doing little tiny weight shifts. We're not doing big sways where my head starts to move around. You'll notice if you're doing this wrong, your foot will roll out like that. So my right foot's going to roll this way. All my spikes come up off the ground. That's that sway to the right. We're not doing swaying this way. We're just doing pistons forward and back. Now, once you've done that a few times, you can start to make some practice swings doing it, and then we'll add the next piece. So just a few with the club, and I'm just feeling my piston going back and forward. Now, when we take it up the chain, you'll start to notice that these pistons are not level with the ground. This rotation doesn't happen this way. If you start to try to move your body level with the ground like this, because I'm bent forward, and if I think level, I'll end up swaying all around. My upper body, my head will move all over the place. If you feel like you're moving around a lot, it's because we're not angled enough. So if I get in my posture and I angle these down, almost like a foot outside the golf ball, it's kind of where I feel like my body's moving. So if I just put my arms by the side, if I let my pistons kind of go just outside the golf ball and they stay on that same plane the entire time, that'll keep me in my posture. You'll notice that with the knees. So if we move it up a chain from the feet to the knees, when we do our backswing, right side goes back, right knee goes back, left knee goes forward. You'll see that. You'll also notice that the left knee gets a little lower than the right knee. That's because everything is angled in this plane. So if we do a few more of these, we can start to feel that, and then we go up to the hip. As we go to the hip sockets, right hip goes back when we do the piston backswing, left hip goes back as we come through. So if I do this correctly, I'm going to rotate until my hips are about 45 degrees turn. Notice how when I'm looking for face on, my knees aren't doing all this action where they're going side to side. They're just going this way. So the right leg can straighten a little bit in the backswing, and the left leg bends, but it doesn't go this way, right? It's forwards and backwards. In the downswing, we get a little weight shift to the left, right knee goes forward, it bends, left knee starts to straighten. So if you're looking at it from this way, here's my backswing, here's my downswing, okay? And we know that we're doing that correctly if we make about a 45-degree hip turn in the backswing. Again, just do some little practices here. And you'll notice when you move your arms and your feet, it's easy to do that. I can sit here perfectly comfortable, 45-degree turn. And when you come on through, your right toe comes all the way up, your right heel comes all the way up, and that allows you to get all the way to a 90-degree turn as you're coming through. So it looks something like this if I'm doing a full swing. Backswing, and then the fall through, I'm going to be here. I'm all the way extended to where my pistons would kind of be toward the target that way. So that's the feet, the knees, the hips. Notice how if I was to draw some lines on these, my hips aren't going outside those lines. I may get up on this front line as I'm going forward, but I'm not swaying this way because it's forwards and backwards. Finally, go up to the shoulders. Again, right shoulder goes higher in the backswing, and it pulls back. And because I've rotated my feet, my knees, my hips, it's very easy to turn my shoulders now. And in the downswing, my right side goes down toward the golf ball, my left side kind of extends up, and I'm this way. Notice when I do that, I've stayed in my posture. So once you've done this, 10, 15 reps for each body segment, feet, knees, hips, shoulders, then you can start to add the club. And all we do in the club is put your hands out to your sides now, and instead of doing these pistons, let your arms swing but have the same feeling. So again, I'm just going to let my arms swing. When I do the piston back, my right arm is going to swing back up above my body. My left arm is down here like helicopter blades. When I go this way, I'm going here. My left arm goes up. My right arm goes down toward the ball. And once I do that, all I'm doing is now go ahead and letting the pistons, or the rotation of my body, swing my arms. So it's this kind of going back and forth that swings my arms back, swings my arms through. And that's what creates the overall momentum. That's why the pros look so smooth when they're doing this. So you just let the arms swing and make sure that you finish. Again, the weight shift is just a little tiny pressure to the right, almost inside of my right foot. It feels like it's this. It feels like I'm going 1 inch over to the right when I'm doing it. The follow through is really easy because I'm just balanced over my left foot and my right foot should be completely off the ground. So when I'm doing this all together, it just looks like this. Body rotating, arms are getting slung, as a result of my body rotating. So now that you see that and you see how I'm doing it, look how when I swing, you can see that body rotation, and it looks so smooth with the arms because my arms are being slung. I'm not keeping my body still and trying to hit at it with my arms. So you'll notice this when you go out and watch your friends now. When they hit, you'll see this. Very little feet movement, very little knee movement or hip movement, very little shoulder movement. Their little pistons would be going like that, not moving at all. And what'll happen is when all that turns off, we do an all arm swing, which looks like this, right? And it's all hands and arms. Even if you were to hit one solid, it's rare because it's no body movement, no piston action. It's just my arms just throwing at the ball, which is really frustrating. And I don't want you to be frustrated like that. So get that arm swinging. The momentum of the body is slinging the arms. And then from there, you can see it happen now. So let me hit a couple and notice how it's the rotation of the body slings the arms. Let's try it out again. There we go, another good one. This is a nice, smooth, easy swing. Again, I'm not swinging hard on these. I could even swing what looks like slow motion with a 9-iron here, and watch the distance I can get, almost looking like I'm not moving or not trying at all. All right, nice solid shot, 150 yards with a 9-iron, and it's the body slinging the club that makes it so effortless and so efficient. Now, there is one problem with this. Again, a lot of players will tend to stand up out of their posture. So yes, we do the piston swings and we're staying in posture, but then all of a sudden we grab a club, we do good to here, and then in the downswing we stand up out of it. Well, that can actually be a result of something totally unrelated to your body movements. If you get your club shaft in the wrong position and you have the wrong idea of how to kind of start your downswing, then you have to change all these body angles to be able to hit the ball. I'm going to play a preview of a video that's fantastic for that, and it'll get you to stop standing up out of your posture. Now, if you're doing this wrong with the club, you've got to fix this before we move forward, or that could be a big, it's like having a nice 400 horsepower car, but you got the emergency brake on, right? We got to take the emergency brake off. We got to get the posture good. We got to make sure that the club shaft is in the right angle to do that. So I'll play a preview of that video here in just 1 second. All you need to do is just go ahead and click one of the cards that you see up on the screen. If you don't see that card, don't worry, just go down to the link below in the description. You'll get instant access to that video. I can't wait to share it with you. Keep you staying in your posture your entire swing. Now, the bottom line is that by trying to ring that bell or pull the hands down more from the inside, it gets the club shaft steep and runs your entire downswing. Now, what you end up having to do is to keep from just keeping down on that steep angle and burying the club behind the golf ball, you have to stand up out of your posture, and that's really the root cause of all your problems. Now, maybe you're being outdriven way too often, or you're terribly inconsistent with your strikes. Some of your shots are heavy, some of them are thin, some of them are off the toe, and then the next ones are way off the heel. Now, you end up way over in the trees, you're in the tall grass, or maybe even the hazards all day long, and it really comes down to this. Clay, how in the heck do we fix it? Well, there's some good news. Well, there's only two things that you need to learn. First, you need to learn to shallow the club rather than pulling the hands down and getting the shaft in this steep position. You see, there's another way that the pros do this, and once you start to get that club on this shallower plane, more from the inside, then you pair that up with the right way to square the club face. And once you put these two things together, everything starts to fit in your swing. Now, your buddies will start to get a little bit jealous because you'll start hitting solid, longer drives, time after time, and round after round. Now, I'm going to teach you this right now in what I call the E-slot technique. Let's walk through exactly how to do it. So here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and take a swing to the top and get in a really good position. I want you to feel like your weight is mostly shifted to your right side and that your hips and shoulders are nice and free. I don't want to be locked up here. I want my knees to move, my hips to move. And that's going to allow me to swing my shoulders very nicely. Now, one thing that most people get wrong when they swing to the top is they don't get this tilt away from the target. So instead of being straight up and down or leaning to the left, I want to be slightly tilted away in what I call the stable fluid spine in my top speed golf system. Okay, so now that you're at this great position at the top of the swing, what I want you to do is instead of pulling those arms straight down or ringing the bell, that's going to get the club shaft steep and get this elbow kind of flapping behind your body. I want you to do something very specific. I want you to take the tip of your elbow and move it in a specific way. Now, not this small bone on the inside of your elbow, but I want it to be right here at the tip, and here's what I want you to do.